rapid changes. So I think it's important to keep a context in mind. And actually, the government of Japan, some 10 years ago, there was this Prime Minister's Commission, and they came out with this notion that it was really important in Japanese education to promote global literacy. And by global literacy, they meant the ability to communicate in English, the ability to use new technologies, and the mastery of rhetoric to combine knowledge of English and knowledge of new technologies to get a message out in the world. And even though Japan has not made as rapid progress towards those goals as perhaps the country would like, I think those are important goals, and it's important to keep the context in mind when we consider the value of technology, because it's not so much, you know, what is the role of technology in the language classroom, but really what is the role of the language classroom in an information technology society. So part of that is, you know, the rapid spread. One of that context is the rapid spread of global English, and the changing nature of English around the world, where for the first time the largest number of speakers are actually foreign language speakers. And I'm on an email list called Education in Japan, where people were talking about this a little bit, and they were talking about this new bill that somebody was pushing in Arizona to take a very strict approach to the accents that people have of English teachers. And they wanted to get rid of teachers who had too strong of an accent. And somebody said, well, I can understand it. If I was, you know, sending somebody to study Japanese, I wouldn't want somebody to teach Japanese who had a strong, you know, foreign accent or something. But then somebody pointed out the difference between English and Japanese, where Japanese is pretty much associated with the country of Japan, the culture of Japan, and English is really being a global language where there's lots of acceptable dialects all around the world, and what's really more important is comprehensibility than sort of correctness. The other part of the context is just the rapid growth of information technology and its role in every aspect of society, including in the economy. So, as I said, there was this Japanese body that posited this idea of global literacy, mastery of English, mastery of IT tools, and the communication skills to deploy them. And I think it's useful to think of kind of a theoretical underpinning for ways to integrate technology instruction is the notion of situated learning. And situated learning actually has two related definitions. They're actually a little bit distinct from each other, but both of them, I think, are very relevant to the notion of technology and learning. So one is the idea that you carry out meaningful tasks and meaningful problems in an environment that reflects your own interests as well as the multiple purposes to which their knowledge will be put in the future. And, you know, this gets back to this whole question of, you know, technology for teaching or teaching for technology. And I remember, you know, people used to say, for example, you know, the technology is not really important. It's just the language. And but when I was teaching in Egypt, somebody said, you know, something very opposite to that, which is, you know, it's the language that's not really that important. It's just a tool to, you know, have an impact in the world. And it's and to be able to use new technologies and this and that. And actually, language and technology are sort of both tools. But one of the issues we came, you know, with this notion of computer-assisted language learning was that you looked at language learning as if it were a fixed entity, and then how the computers could intersect that. But one of the things we found rapidly in the 1990s was that language itself was a moving goalpost. and that actually it wasn't just in terms of using computers to learn English, but actually for a lot of people in EFL situations around the world, the online world became the principal place that they had to use English. So they had more communication on the internet than they had in any other realm. So when you think about the ways that people will put their knowledge to use in the future, a lot of it will be reading online, writing online, chatting online, etc. The other notion of situated learning is to learn to use tools as practitioners use them. A student, like an apprentice, must enter that community and its culture. So one notion is situated in kind of future uses. Another is situated in communities. And the idea that learning is kind of this ongoing process of apprenticeship. It was called, who's the author, talked about legitimate peripheral participation. That basically the way you learn anything is you kind of participate as a very peripheral member of a community, and then you gradually, move more and more to the center. And that's, I think, the goal that we want. We visited a high school today, and we were talking about how one of the big problems in Japan is that people see English as a subject rather than as a communication tool.